its management.
Hi guys, welcome to the Big Conversation with Abs, only on Revive FM 94.0. I hope you guys are all well. My name is Abdul Hamid, and whether you're watching us on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook, or listening to us on the radio, a very, very welcome to you all. Now, I've been away for a good few months, but I'm very glad to say that I'm now back in on the studio. It actually feels a lot smaller than I remember. But it's nice to be back. So going forward, the shows will actually take place every second Sunday of the month. So just bear that in mind, please. Now, for those of you who are new and haven't listened to my shows before, that's absolutely fine. I forgive you. What my shows are all about is obviously called The Big Conversation with Abs. And what we talk about on these shows are some of the real key issues that affect us at a local level and highlight some of these key issues. So I also use my show as a platform to showcase and highlight some of the amazing work that are done by organizations and individuals within our communities. So today we are going to be discussing barriers for Black, Asian, minority ethnic employees, particularly graduates in the job market. Now, you may be aware, and you may have seen in the news recently, that there is a lot of news out there around sort of employability gaps and employability issues, particularly between BAME employees and white counterparts. And this is particularly so for graduates. And there have been numerous studies that have happened in the last couple of years by the TUC, by the Equality and Human Rights Commission, that have highlighted real concerns around sort of lack of representation from the BAME community and those people who have the qualities and the qualifications to take on these jobs, but for whatever reason they are barred from applying, or they're going into interview and they are not necessarily getting the jobs themselves. And I think what that highlights, in my opinion, is a deeply sort of entrenched inequality within the job sector market. Now, I've got a couple of statistics which I want to share with you guys. I mean, some of this you may already be aware, some of this might be new to you guys and actually may shock you. But on average, Black graduates earn 23.1% less than white graduates. 58% of BAME employees are more likely, or BAME people rather, are more likely to be unemployed than white people. 47% are more likely to be on 0-hour contracts. That's 40% of BAME employees are more likely to be on 0-hour contracts, and 10% of BAME people are likely to have second jobs. Now, clearly there is a problem, and we hear about the government trying to address the issue. There's various different initiatives and various different schemes, but I think it's fair to say that a lot more needs to happen to kind of address this issue. Now, to unpick this very, very tricky and difficult issue, I have with me, and I'm very, very pleased to say, I have with me two of the co-founders of an organization called Accelerate Mentoring. And the organization essentially works to support students of BAME backgrounds, particularly BAME backgrounds, with the career progressions. So I am joined by Simran and Jasneet. Hi, you guys. Welcome to the Big Convo with Abs.
Hi, thank you for having us.
Great. And thank you very much for coming down. So let me start with Simran. Tell me a little bit about your organization and what it is that you guys do.
Hey, yeah, I'm Simran, and I'm one of the co-founders of Accelerate Mentoring. So essentially, Accelerate is an organization that supports and mentors A-level students as well as university students. Those are from BAME backgrounds and perhaps underprivileged backgrounds, just like Jasneet and myself, as we're from the South Asian community. So essentially, we wanted to provide a platform that gives support to students, anything relating to careers, to university, to applying for internships or correcting their CVs. And it's opportunities that we felt that we didn't have growing up, especially when we were starting our academic or career journey. So we wanted to make sure that those people are also supported through this platform by providing mentoring and support.
Okay, so Jasneet, I mean, obviously you've kind of co-founded this with Simran.
Yes.
How did you guys sort of know each other? How do you guys kind of connect with each other?
So we both went to Imperial,
Okay.
and we met in the Bhangra kind of community, and it was my idea to try to mentor people, but Simran kind of brought in the whole aspect of let's make this into a whole platform where we can have more than mentoring, so we can have kind of workshops, we can get other companies on board, and that's just how Accelerate got founded.
Okay, amazing. I mean, Simran, you mentioned something in your kind of introduction there about not having those opportunities yourself, and that's really interesting. I mean, I went to university like many years ago. I'm a lot older than I look, and I have to be honest. I can kind of relate to that, and I can kind of say, you know what, in my day, there wasn't a lot of opportunities out there, but you kind of hear about it getting a lot better over the years, and sort of these graduate schemes kind of popping up left, right, and centre. PwC, Accenture, and all the big kind of top sort of firms out there, sort of really banging on about kind of diversity in the workplace and stuff like that. So I suppose maybe because I've been so blinded by it, you kind of almost assume that it has got better and it is getting better, but you obviously feel different about that.
Yeah, I do think it is getting better. Organizations are trying to have more diversity and inclusion, especially with graduate schemes. Yeah, there's more, but like you said, more still needs to be done, especially from the foundation. So when you're at university, sometimes you feel a bit lost, and especially when it comes to applying for internships or spring weeks or graduate schemes, there's so many resources, but it's just knowing the right resources and being sort of directed in the correct path, because you might feel like your peers are doing more than you or you're doing too less. So it's always like there's a bit of a competition, because at the end of the day, the UK job market is competitive, and given the current market with COVID, it's becoming a lot tougher. So there is obviously opportunity, and that's where we saw the opportunity during lockdown, where people were sort of struggling, like how am I going to get into university when the whole A-level mishap happened, or how am I going to get a job now that there's literally the economy is going down. So that's where we saw the gap, and it still does exist because it is hard, and that's what we wanted to fill in, essentially.
Yeah. So Jasneet, I mean, sort of, are there any particular industries that you guys focus on in particular, or is it sort of graduate recruitment across all the various sectors?
So we are a STEM initiative, so science, technology, engineering, maths. Those are the disciplines we kind of focus around. However, we are aware that people from these disciplines go on to get jobs within kind of the financial industry, within the defense industry. So as much as we want to educate people with regards to a STEM background, we also have avenues such as, if people are interested in finance, we have finance mentors. If people want to go into the oil industry, we have oil mentors, defense mentors, so and so. But I also think it's useful to note that Accelerate is, as much as it is a scheme for university students, it's also a scheme for A-level students.
Okay.
And I think that's very useful to note, because all of these schemes, as you said, PwC, etc., they mainly target A-level students. However, there's this kind of urge for, they mainly target university students, whereas there's this urge for A-level students to be heard and to be seen, because I feel, you motivate someone from a younger age when they're already in university, they already have kind of their career paths and stuff sorted out, whereas at A-level you're a bit more indecisive, and that's kind of why I feel Accelerate comes in and really helps, motivates and pushes those people.
So it's almost going to start at a much earlier point. That's really interesting, actually. That's really interesting. So you mentioned, obviously, your organisation works with STEM. I mean, it's interesting because, some people might say, well, if you look at all of the various sectors out there, STEM would probably be kind of one of those areas where you would kind of think that the level of diversity was far better than perhaps in non-STEM industries. I mean, again, is that kind of my misinformation, Simran? Or would you say, actually, no, there is still a need for a lot more representation in those areas? I mean, like, for example, medicine. Being an Asian myself, it is obviously one of the kind of the top 3, top 4 in any Asian household to kind of aspire to. It's either that or an accountant or a lawyer, whatever, right? So, would you say that, there is still this need, this growing need for greater representation in those industries?
I would say yes, to an extent. Of course, there's like medicine, dentistry, and you have a lot of the BAME community going into that. But there's other other industries within the STEM sort of thing. It's not as established. For example, technology or engineering. It's not as much as the science or medicine background. So that's sort of where we think needs targeting, and especially because Jasneet and I being women, so we thought STEM would be like the thing to target, because for women entering as well, there is a bit of lack of diversity. I did engineering at university, so definitely saw the lack of women in my course. So yeah, that's also where the push is needed, and we do want to go on to exploring getting more STEM women into STEM into STEM.
Yeah. Well, that's brilliant. I mean, the fact that you're kind of almost sort of doing this on two fronts, both on a gender basis and also on a kind of sort of racial, if you like, ethnic kind of background. I mean, is it mainly BAME, or I mean, is that how you kind of present yourselves, or is it kind of anybody from a particular background can benefit from your organisation?
So we started with the idea of it being open to everyone, and we want to make sure that whoever's sort of unsupported during their time at A-levels or university can apply to the mentorship scheme. And it's not that we want to limit it, but when we thought of the motivation for like starting Accelerate was mainly to sort of focus on the BAME community, especially when the Black Lives Matter protests were happening. We realized that there needs to be a bit more of a push, and we want to represent those from similar backgrounds to us and see them also in the same sort of get those university offers or those high position jobs. So it is focused towards them, but we don't limit people from non-BAME backgrounds from applying. Okay,
interesting. Jasneet, I want to kind of talk a little bit about your motivations as individuals, because obviously you guys are, aspiring graduates, postgraduates. Have you kind of graduated now?
I'm still at Imperial. She's graduated.
Okay, brilliant. Are you doing a postgrad now, Simran?
No, so I did a master's just last year, and now I'm working.
Okay, so now you're working. Okay, brilliant. So I mean, Jasneet, I suppose you're kind of like in the midst of your studies, and I imagine there's lots of pressures around studies, deadlines, exams, and all of that stuff. Some people may say, you've already got your plate full. To do this essentially, I mean, not even on the side. I imagine this in itself is quite a lot for you to deal with. How are you sort of managing both?
So I give this as much time as I give university. I think one of the rules that we always follow is if there's a will, there's a way, and we feel very passionate about diversity, inclusion, just making other people, have the opportunities that we have. So therefore, it's not so much a chore if it's something that you want to do. And I think that's what Simran and I have really found, that even though it is hard, even though there's countless hours where we've been up until sometimes 5 a.m., pairing mentors with mentees, it's been insane, but it's been very rewarding. And I think that's what keeps motivating us. Like, honestly, we didn't imagine that we'd be here, talking to you on kind of a radio stage, but it just goes to show how needed platforms like this are. And I think the best thing about platforms like Accelerate is that there are a lot of them, you're right. So there's been a lot of platforms that are similar to Accelerate who kind of endorse the same things that we do. But the fact that we're getting this much exposure just goes to show that, even though there are loads of platforms, there's still a long way to go until equality is met. Yeah,
and I think you've touched on a really interesting point there, and this is what I was going to come to in my follow-up question, was that, obviously the fact that you guys are doing this, I mean, Simran, yourself, you're working in a full-time job, I imagine, and sort of starting up in your career, there's obviously lots of pressures for you as well. And some people may say, just working a full-time job in itself is a lot for anyone, especially sort of people at the sort of start of their journey, if you don't mind me saying. But you clearly both have felt there is a need for this. You clearly both felt that there is something lacking that's kind of inspired you or motivated you to do that. And I think that probably highlights a slightly wider issue as to why you both feel the need to even do this in the first place. And I think, it's brilliant that you guys are doing it. But I also think it's actually quite unfortunate that you guys are almost having to do what you guys are doing because of clearly this gap, this employment gap in the job sectors that you guys are specializing in. But listeners, I'd be really happy to kind of hear what your thoughts on this are. If you are a graduate or maybe an A-level student yourself, and you want to call in and maybe share some of your thoughts and your experiences, please do. The studio number to call and come through to me live is 0333 444 0940. That number again is 0333 444 0940. You can also WhatsApp us, and you can WhatsApp us on the same number again. That's 0333 444 0940. If you're listening to us on Facebook, or YouTube, feel free to drop us a message on there as well. And our station manager will be happy to share those comments as well. But Simran, I mean, just coming back to the point I just mentioned earlier about sort of, this need for it, do you feel that the government, and that's probably the answer is obviously is obvious, but do you feel that the government, A, is doing enough to support BAME people in the workplace? And ultimately, some people might say, well, actually, is it a government issue, or is this actually more of a private sector issue? I.e., should private sectors be doing more, or is it something that you feel that the government, sitting on top, should be doing more in terms of kind of applying downward pressure on organisations?
Yeah, I do think it is a government issue because, like the statistics you said at the start of the show, they are not at an organisational level, they are at a national level.
Yeah.
And it just goes to show that this is not happening in 2 or 3 companies, it's happening across the whole of the UK. So definitely there is something that is not happening right now, especially for graduates coming out of university from BAME backgrounds, and that needs to happen, especially in the workplace. I feel it starts from the workplace, right? That there is maybe the issue of racism is not addressed, and so that needs to be sort of settled, and maybe the government needs to provide a bit more support for ethnic minorities. And also when it comes to the pay gap, there is a big pay gap, and it's in the statistics. So that needs to be a bit more transparent from companies. Maybe they hide their data, and there is evidence of some companies not sharing the whole information of their employees and the wages that they receive. So that needs to be more transparent in the report, so then people can see what is lacking and where it's lacking. So the government can perhaps do more by pushing organizations to release more data in terms of wages, as well as how to tackle issues of racism in the workplace.
Yeah. Jasneet, I mean, clearly, Simran's talked about, very eloquently about sort of what the government needs to do in terms of sort of trying to put that kind of pressure, if you like, on workspaces. But do you think that the issue is perhaps more deeper rooted than that? In that, do you think perhaps it's more of a mindset thing? I mean, the fact that you guys start at a much earlier stage is really interesting, like at A levels, and I think that's probably right in all honesty. Because I do a lot of youth work as well. I work with the youth, and I see that on a day-to-day basis. But I'm just thinking about, like, do you think this is a much more deeper rooted issue where, we talk about sort of institutional racism, sort of inherent in the schooling system, for example. Like we saw the Equalities Minister for the Tories literally stand up at the House of Commons the other day and basically said that, anything to do with critical race thinking, or critical race theory rather, could potentially break the law. Yeah. And we've got to be really careful about, making sure that we put forward a balanced argument. Yeah. Essentially, sort of dead in the water, basically saying you cannot put forward a narrative which is counter to an institutional narrative. Essentially, is I think is what the government are saying. So, I mean, do you feel, Jasneet, that there is a kind of a deeper issue here that is simply not being addressed?
Definitely, I think it's got a lot to do with racism, just a lot to do with superiority, supremacy. I feel, especially when I was looking to apply to roles in companies, I saw kind of the chairs of directors, and I saw that they were all white males, and that is something that really, I want to say, put me off, but that is something that made me feel maybe, someone like me, a female from, London, East London, who's brown, might not be given the chance or might not be deemed capable or suitable for kind of those top positions. So I think just constantly seeing people who fit in the white kind of male stereotype really is disheartening for people from our community who kind of don't feel like they'll ever be given that chance to shine.
Yeah. And Simran, what do you think? We'll talk about schools perhaps slightly later, but what do you think as a community? What do you think sort of in families, and what do you think parents can do to ensure that their kids have all the opportunities and the life chances that, perhaps non-BAME kids may or may not have in their households? I mean, what would you say to anyone listening to this right now?
I would say to the families that for your children, try and provide them support through organizations like ours, for example, Accelerate, where we provide mentoring and sort of the right resources and education to get the kids on the right track, where they may feel a bit lost. It's just sort of pushing them in the direction that they may not even know of. And it's youth organizations that are coming through, like yours, like ours, that can really drive this change. And yeah, families really need to sort of take a bit more of a role, maybe in their, especially in A-levels, in their education and their career direction, maybe not pushing them into something that they don't want to do, but sort of guiding them and telling them to speak to more people rather than just speaking within their family. Try and network and get greater contacts where you can sort of see someone that was also on that same journey, and they can maybe provide you a bit more guidance and support.
Yeah, I mean, role modeling, I think, is a really, really important one, isn't it? I mean, I would certainly say that you guys, are role models for people sort of, joining your organization. And I can see from your website that you've got plenty of mentors, professionals, a whole list actually of really high caliber individuals from really good universities with really strong academic backgrounds who have put themselves down as mentors and sort of coming forward. So Jasneet, just tell us, what can sort of people listening to this who might be interested in maybe getting mentored by somebody from your organization. Firstly, tell us what your mentoring actually involves.
So our mentoring started on the 14th of September, and it basically involves weekly conversations with mentors and mentees just to get a feel of how they're doing in terms of UCAS applications, in terms of job applications, any kind of spring weeks, internships that they want help with. Our mentors give them advice in terms of how to professionalize your CV or cover letter, how to stand out to the crowd, but also they just give advice on university. So if you're settling into university, how that might go, given the whole COVID situation, how you might need to alter certain things. This mentorship scheme runs until the 30th of November. And after that, we'll be having workshops. We look to go into kind of academic institutions such as schools, universities, to hold talks to just broaden our horizons.
Okay. And these sort of mentoring, are these sort of done on a one-to-one basis?
They are done on a one-to-one basis, yes.
Right, okay. And they start from A-levels upwards?
A-levels upwards, A-levels until university, yes.
Okay. And I suppose one of the sort of important questions is what is the cost involved? Is there a cost involved?
No, so Accelerate is a labour of love, therefore it's all free.
Brilliant.
Simran and I actually ping up the costs, but once again, when it's a labour of love, you don't mind doing.
Wow. Okay, so that I think that really kind of hits home the point, doesn't it? That we do have amazing organisations out there, like yourselves, individuals who are willing to go over and above, what you need to do. Let's be honest, you don't need to be doing this. You already have a lot on your plate, as I said before, but obviously, just as you mentioned, this is a labour of love, this is a passion, which is clearly evident. You guys clearly want to do more to help, people in similar backgrounds as yourselves. And I think that's really commendable. And the fact that you're actually, you're going one step further and essentially taking on this cost yourself without any kind of support, without any kind of financial assistance, I think is really, really commendable. But I think it really does highlight this point about, more needs to be done, both at a local level and also at a national level, to try and sort of tackle these issues. I want to talk a little bit about entrepreneurship, because, again, without wanting to be stereotypical in any way, entrepreneurship is something that, particularly from people in the BAME community, is something, that is seen as a very positive thing, something that's seen as something to sort of aspire to do. And I think particularly now with everything that's going on with coronavirus and everything else, people have got a lot more creative in trying to sort of maybe side hustles and side businesses and stuff like that, which actually I think is a really good thing. I think it's, I think that side of things really needs to be supported in a formal setting, so in the school environment. Simran, tell us a little bit about how your organisation gets involved and promotes the idea of entrepreneurship.
Yeah, so, well, when we and Jasneet started, we weren't sure where this was really going in terms of, is it just going to be sort of like a small hustle on the side that we're doing during lockdown, or is it going to grow? Like we really weren't sure, but it's when it started gaining a bit more exposure and we started seeing that there was a demand, we thought, yes, this is great. Like we can make this a lot bigger and help a lot more people and students as we go along. And yeah, since then it's sort of just grown, and we can see that you have to sort of be entrepreneurial when it comes to, like, for example, making a website or like trying to make a mentorship scheme. But yeah, what we want to do going ahead in the future is provide more support for students that want to sort of start their own business or start like their own side hustle, by giving more talks, because some of our mentors in fact actually have done that during lockdown, for example, starting our own YouTube channel or blog. So we're really trying to push and promote that yes, people from bank backgrounds can do this, and that there is opportunity. Maybe you just need to speak to someone, or if you don't ask, you don't get, right? So maybe you just need to connect with one of our mentors and see how did they start or how did we start. So that might give them a bit more push to get going, really.
Yeah, it's brilliant, and I think that's really positive, because I think, as I said before, I think actually the schooling system in this country needs to do a lot more to kind of. I think financial education is really important, for anyone. I mean, if you look at the level of debt, I mean, you guys are going to know this. I've just about got to the other side of it, just about, but I can still see that hill behind me, and it's a very, very, very steep one. Financial education is so important, and students. I don't know any student that is debt free right now, and it's almost like giving, and this is not meant to sound condescending in any way, but it's like giving a child a loaded gun and basically saying, off you go, use it as you like. When talking about debts that are literally the size of deposits for houses, or in fact, in certain parts of northern England, probably the house, the cost of a house. Exactly. And basically saying, no, it's fine, don't worry about it. So long as you're not earning less than whatever it is, 20,000, 25,000, you won't have to pay it. I just think that is balmy. That is really, really balmy. But look, we're going to go into a very, very short commercial break, guys. But do stay tuned. Like I said, you can call into the studio. The number to do that is 0333 444 0940. But we're going to go to a very short commercial break now, and I'll see you after this very short message.
Through Minhaj Welfare Foundation, your giving saves lives. Your support has provided more than 3 million people with access to clean and safe water, emergency relief in natural disaster and crisis-affected areas around the world, supported orphans and needy children with a better future. This year, your help can do more. Donate your zakat, sadaqah, and charitable donations to any of your chosen projects. Call us now, 0300 30 30 777, or visit us on minhajwelfare.org.
Amigos, the signature name when it comes to burgers and shakes. Our succulent burgers are prepared in front of you while you wait. Whether you go for our 6-ounce Mexican or our 10-ounce Texan, or you decide to go for our messy fries or our buffalo wings, one thing you're guaranteed is quality. Dine in with your friends and family at 400 Cranbrook Road, Gants Hill, or order in on Uber Eats, Just Eat, or Deliveroo. Amigos, hats off to great burgers.
Thinking about selling or letting your home? With Maxwell Estates, you don't need to look any further. Well established with over 15 years of experience, Maxwell Estates are specialists in residential sales and lettings. We manage over 200 our landlords and tenants updated with all the latest laws and legislations. Based in Edgware, our experienced specialist negotiators always ensure we maximize the full potential of your property. Call us now on 0208 952 0808 for a free no-obligation quotation, or visit our website www.maxwellestates.co.uk for further information. Maxwell Estates, the name you can trust.
If you want to advertise your business on Revive FM, then visit www.revivefm.co.uk. Alternatively, contact our sales team now on 07944 56 5616. That's 07944 56 5616.
Nitro Treats, the dessert lab where your treats are formulated before your very eyes. Keep cool with our flavoured shaved ice, or chill out with our exclusive Dragon Breath Nitro ice creams. Experiment with our selection of mojitos, or indulge in our traditional faludas or lassies. Visit Nitro Treats at 210 Ilford Lane, where our nitrologists remain ready to serve. Nitro Treats, it's nitrolicious.
Hi, I'm Ian from the Windrush Help Team. If you came to the UK before the end of 1988 and are struggling to prove your legal status, I could help. You may also be entitled to compensation. I'm here to answer your questions and talk you through our application process. Anything you tell us will be treated sensitively and won't be passed on to immigration enforcement. Visit gov.uk/Windrush Help Team.
The Windrush Help Team here to support you and your family.
Nikah, talaq, counseling on matrimonial disputes, Islamic wills, Islamic law of inheritance, or an Islamic verdict on any other issue. The Muslim Sharia Council is at your service. We provide official certification, and our experienced and highly qualified imams are available to provide you with guidance when needed. MQI London is based at 292 to 296 Romford Road, Forest Gate. We are open from Monday to Friday, 2 to 4 p.m. or alternatively, call us now on 0208 257 1786.
Revive FM
94.0 on the radio,
on your mobile,
and online.
Guys, welcome back to the Big Convo with Abs on Revive FM 94.0 FM. I am joined with two guests, Simran and Jasneet, who are co-founders of the organization Accelerate Mentoring. Now, Jasneet, before we went on to the break, we were talking about entrepreneurship. Yes. And, you know, the importance for sort of, you know, financial education and sort of having that understanding at a much earlier stage. I mean, what would you say to any youngster sort of listening to this now? I mean, what kind of advice would you give them?
I feel society as a whole is quite used to instant gratification right now, which is where you do not do too much work, but you want the rewards from it. I think, therefore, my message to people would be work hard, you know, start that business, start that company. It's okay if you fail, you know, failing just makes you more motivated to persevere and then in the end win. I'd say start that business, you know, make calculated risks. So I think it would be ridiculous to spend like £1 million on a startup when you've got no prior knowledge, but, you know, spending that money as an investment maybe would be useful. So just, you know, take risks, calculate them, but just keep on pushing towards it because, you know, Bill Gates, the CEO of Amazon, they started from nothing, you know, and they worked their way up. So it is possible. You've just got to believe in yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And I actually think, you know, one of the kind of plus points, if you ever can call it that, on the back of this coronavirus pandemic has been that, you know, I think more people, both young, old, middle-aged, you know, have really understood and appreciated that you can't take anything for granted. Mm-hmm. And actually, you know, you may have something amazing and then in a split second, it's gone, you know. And I think what that's done is it's made people really kind of think about things in a much more creative, ingenuitive kind of way, and thinking about, well, you know, you can't take anything for granted. So I've got to think about, you know, if I have a business, how can I kind of maximize on my returns? What can I do to diversify, you know, my business? How can I make my business more appealing to people? Because at the end of the day, it's survival mode, right? People are just gotta survive. But I just want to come back to this point that we talked about right at the beginning of the show, sort of, you know, in terms of sort of more being more that needs to be done. And I kind of think to myself, if I'm a young person, you know, sort of 13, 14, I'm from a BAME background, perhaps, you know, my family are sort of low income or maybe even middle income, let's say, you know, I'm going to be thinking to myself, okay, well, the government have basically just voted against a bill for free school meals over the holiday periods. Which, you know, I mean, clearly people have very, very strong views about that. I mean, I have my own personal views about that. But that's a decision that the government have taken, essentially basically saying that we are not going to support this motion. So you've got a situation where, you know, a young person is looking at that and thinking, well, hang on a minute, you know, is the government actually doing enough for me? Is the government actually doing enough to support people like me? You know, and I've got all of these kind of barriers and all of these things in front of me. I mean, Simran, I mean, you know, what sort of advice would you give to a youngster listening to this and sort of thinking maybe those things? Because there may well be many people out there thinking something like that.
Yeah, definitely. As a young person, you're already, when you're a teenager, you're a bit confused about what's going on and you're just going through a phase, right? So, yeah, I think speaking to people from different levels and not just your family, from like having a role model really like push you forward, because the government might not be as supportive right now, but there's so much being done around the UK. Like when the free schools meal bill was not passed, there's so many organizations, sort of Marcus Rashford, he was pushing restaurants and food banks to provide for these children. So
many came forward.
Exactly,
didn't
they did, yeah. And even like worship place. So, for example, we go to the Gurdwara. They provide free school. They provide free meals for everyone. So it's just there is support there, but yeah, it's not being received from the government. But we know that there is a drive for this, and that more needs to be done. But once you reach out and see that support, like in the online community, there was so much sort of, let's say, hatred against the government when what happened on Wednesday, and you can see that the community sort of comes together, and everyone, especially young people, we always are on the same sort of wavelength. We know that what's wrong is wrong, especially because we might have different views to like the older generation or in general the government. But yeah, I think for young people, they just need to know that there is this community of young people that are there to support them, that we have the same views as you, and like don't feel afraid to speak out and talk about them, because no, the government might not be what you want them to be right now, but there is a bit of a shift, and it is changing a little bit, but the hope is to keep on changing and developing.
Yeah. So Jasneet, I mean, there's obviously light at the end of the tunnel.
Definitely.
I think you guys are obviously testament to that. Tell us about the people behind your organization. So tell us about your mentors.
So as much as it is the co-founders who are running it, we'd also like to give a big thank you to the mentors, because without them, this scheme would not be feasible. Without the 40 or so mentors that we have, we wouldn't have been able to have the one-to-one mentorship scheme, which has really, helped a lot of our mentees. I think we've had some testimonials where people have said this has been like a really good, scheme in terms of like just personal development, but also in terms of just getting those university offers, applying to those, jobs. So yeah, without our mentors, definitely we wouldn't have been able to even get as far as we have today.
Yeah. And sort of how can people kind of sign up? How do people get involved? So as mentees and as mentors?
So currently our applications for both mentees and mentor positions are closed. However, we are looking to open them kind of within the near future. I guess we're just assessing demand at the moment, so it's fluid. But once applications do come out, we'll be posting them on our LinkedIn's, on our Instagrams, etc.
Okay, great. So obviously, as a community-based organization, sustainability, long-term sustainability is obviously really, really important. You mentioned, very commendably that you guys are essentially sort of kind of funding this yourselves, but as students yourselves, or sort of former students in your case, Simran, you've got other things to be kind of paying for and kind of, doing essentially. Tell us a little bit about some of the challenges that your organization is currently facing, and how you kind of aim to sort of try and address those challenges.
Yes, definitely being self-funded. Yeah, there is a bit of an issue because we want to do more and we want to grow and provide more opportunities. But with everything, really, money always gets involved. So we hope that in the near future that we can speak to more organizations and companies to get sort of sponsorship or funding where we can grow our platform, grow our services. So instead of having X amount of mentee-mentor matches, we want to like multiply that and expand, so then we can provide help on a national level. Like at the moment we're helping on a local level, but perhaps on a national level. And one thing we do really want to expand into is holding more workshops and events at academic institutions such as schools and universities, so we can go and give talks. But given the current climate with COVID, things have also been a bit challenging because obviously it is really hard to get in touch with schools to reach out, but we're hoping that we can maybe shift this on an online platform where we can provide virtual workshops and seminars and go from there, really.
Brilliant. So if there are any businesses out there, any kind of business owners out there that are thinking about getting more involved in community work, and definitely, as you mentioned before, we've seen this amazing community spirit that's come out of nowhere, really, when you think about many businesses themselves being quite destitute, especially the kind of the catering industries, the restaurants, the pubs, that sort of thing. But actually, these are the people that have come forward, haven't they, and basically said, well, it doesn't matter what we're going through as a business, we don't actually believe the notion that any child should go hungry over the holidays or for any time, let's be honest. And they are coming forward and putting forward, really decent meals and that sort of thing, and I think it's actually really, really commendable. So in that kind of sort of vein, that similar vein of kind of accommodating other people, I mean, if there are any business owners listening to this, please do get in touch, and you can get in touch with both Simran and Jasneet via their website, and obviously their contact details are on there, so please do get in touch. Jasneet, we've got a couple of minutes remaining for this show. I just want you to tell us a little bit about what your future plans are in terms of this organization and where you kind of see this organization in the next, say, 12 months or so.
So we definitely hope to expand on our mentorship scheme, which lasts kind of at the beginning of the academic term. However, as we both mentioned before, we want to hold talks within institutions. We want to also partner with kind of the likes of, I don't know, let's say TEDx, other workshops like that, just to expand our reach, but also help other people. We don't see ourselves stopping anytime soon. And thankfully, with kind of the push from our mentors, with the push from the businesses that we've already partnered with, there doesn't look like there'll be, anything to stop off. And I just hope to grow from here onwards.
Brilliant. Simran, we've got 30 seconds left. What would you like to say just as in terms of closing remarks?
I think really the main thing, what drives us is the community. And like you say, it's the community spirit that keeps you going, especially a young organization and young people like us. So we just hope that for young people listening, make sure to get involved, expand your network and speak to other people and reach out to Accelerate Mentoring, because we really want to help you accelerate on your own academic and career journey.
Brilliant. Jasneet? Anything to add to that?
Said it perfectly. Just keep on pushing to work towards your dreams, and as long as you try hard enough, things will work out.
Brilliant. Well, guys, there you have it. We were listening to Simran and Jasneet from the organization Accelerate Mentoring, and amazing work that they are doing. Look, if you are a youngster listening to this, if you are a graduate and you're thinking about, what your next steps are, you may feel that perhaps the government isn't on your side. You may feel that the local authority isn't on your side, or that these kind of big companies are not on your side. But I'll tell you what, honestly, there is light at the end of the tunnel. There are plenty of people out there that are willing to support. There are plenty of organizations out there that are willing to help, that have shared similar experiences to you. So you are definitely not alone. What you need to do, though, is you need to reach out to organizations like Accelerate Mentoring and actually ask for help, because if you don't ask, you don't get. So I really hope you found this show beneficial. I've certainly learned a huge amount from speaking to you guys. So thank you both for joining the Big Conversation with Abs.
Thank you for having us.
Not a problem. Thank you all. And guys, I will be back, not next Sunday, but the Sunday after. So do stay tuned. Until then, stay blessed. Take care.
Thousands